The administration of the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon and con man Donald Trump is pretty stupid. And when I say stupid, I mean really stupid. So they sent out this memo freezing federal funds, which actually is illegal. There's nothing that says they have the power to do so. And so folks went to court. Federal judge agreed with them. Then today, these idiots tried to send out a second memo saying, no, you know what? Scratch that. This really applies to these different groups. But then they got even more stupid because their, youngest ever press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, that dumbass then goes, this is not a rescission of the federal funding freeze. It's simply a rescission of the OMB memo. Why? To end any confusion created by the court's injunction. The president's EO on federal funding remain in full force and effect and will be rigorously implemented. Well, guess what? That dumbass earned them a restraining order. Go to my iPad. This is from Politico Story. The judge here, federal judge, says, I'm inclined to grant the restraining order. I fear that the administration is acting with a distinction without a difference. That's how dumb these folks are. And what has happened is the confusion is impacting folks in every single area, intended or unattended, if you want to suggest that. And so as a result, and they really are focusing on DEI, anything dealing with the issue of race, critical race theory, you name it, that's what they are constantly attacking. Well, guess what? If the freeze is reinstated, funding to Black cultural studies at HBCUs could be at risk, as these programs rely on federal funds. Dr. Leslie Baskerville, the CEO of the National Association for Equal Opportunity in Higher Education, joins me now. Leslie, glad to have you back on the show. Dr. Walter Kimbrough, who was the interim president in Alabama at school there, it's very interesting. He said it's a little hard to be an HBCU and not bring up Black history. And so this attack on DEI by these nutcases, this attack on critical race theory, anything dealing with race, could have a serious impact on the federal funds that HBCUs receive, correct?
Yes, it could have. I don't believe it will have, not under the current circumstances, because the Constitution reserves to the United States Congress appropriations and authorization authority, and the president can't override that by executive order. So I think it's really unfortunate that we're having to go through these time-consuming, confusing challenges in court. But I'm confident that we'll win, whether the judge is appointed by Trump or anyone else. That's clear, and Republican members and Democratic members hold on to that. It's a coveted responsibility. Budget was passed before Congress, and he can't override that with an executive order.
But Leslie, we're not dealing with someone who actually cares about the law.
He doesn't care.
And Republicans are consistently unwilling to challenge him on his lawlessness.
Yeah, that's true. And so it makes it even harder and more expensive. But there's another important factor here when we talk about DEI. Unlike Hispanic serving institutions and Asian Pacific Islander institutions, even predominantly Black institutions, HBCUs are not minority serving institutions. Since their founding, they have been mission-based institutions. They're mission-based institutions like the military, colleges, and universities. There's no race and no ethnicity criterion. There has never been any instance in which they had to have a certain number of white people, a certain number of Asian Pacific Islanders. Because of their mission, because of the areas in which they excel, they're the growth and high need areas, and particularly in STEM, where they're graduating 42% of Blacks and other underrepresented minorities with advanced degrees in STEM. people are coming. So we now have about 30% non-African ancestry and 70% African ancestry people. And so when you say DEI, we should not cede that.
But here's the deal, though, Leslie. We know what's going on here. When these white folks say DEI, they are going, oh, that's black, knowing full well that the greatest beneficiaries of DEI jobs as well as affirmative action have been white women. And so these people are not smart. They don't think that way. And here's a perfect example. Go to my iPad. Look, Rutgers University canceled an HBCU conference as a result of this. In this conference, it was through the Rutgers Center for Minority Serving Institutions, said it was asked to cease all work it was performing under the auspices of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility Hub at Jobs for the Future, which is funded by the U.S. Department of Labor. And so here's a perfect example. HBCUs are not solely for African Americans. They're just like, they're frankly, just like PWIs. It's a historical distinction, but let's be real clear. The people who wrote Project 2025, that's what this is all about, and HBCUs should worry because these people are crazy.
Yeah, they are crazy. But I want to just take a slight issue with the fact that they're just like PWIs, with predominantly white institution, Hispanics, Asian Pacific Islander institutions. There is a specific criterion in the definition that a certain percentage of their student body is Hispanic, Asian Pacific Islander, and predominantly Black. So there's a specific race criterion along with the economic criterion. A certain percentage of them have to be low income, and the institutions have to be underfunded. That's their definition. HBCUs are mission-based.
No. Follow me. When I say they're the same, what I mean is if you're a white student. No. What I'm saying is if you're a white student or a Black student or Latino or Asian Native American, and you apply to an HBCU, it's no different if you're applying to a PWI. So what I'm saying is it's a college, it's a university. So that's what I mean by there's no difference. I understand the definition, and I understand mission, but what I'm saying is if you choose to apply to one of those schools, you can apply. You're not going to be barred from that school, because of your race. And so that's what I mean by that. But we're dealing with these people who many of them, first of all, they can't spell HBCU. I guarantee you they've never been to one. They have no understanding about the federal designation. But the most important thing, all they see is the B in HBCU, which is Black. Right.
So we've had one successful case, and I led it on behalf of the HBCUs when a number of years ago, the Department of Commerce was directed to shut down its small disadvantaged and female business program. And earlier, I had written into that law that the private HBCUs, small private HBCUs that met the definition of small disadvantaged businesses, and there were quite a few, should be written into the law. When they set the law aside, then I came back and said, no, they're not small disadvantaged in the sense of having any race criterion. And we won. They took us out at that level, and that was an administrative judge. But they're tiers of government. And Roland, I agree with you. And I think we've never had a time like this or someone who's so unbridled, unhinged, unaware or unrespectful of the tripartite system and the laws and so forth. And so that makes the battle harder. But as long as we've been fighting, and with the folks that HBCUs have prepared and other institutions, and those who've been prepared on the streets and the lines, picket lines and so forth, we have the tools to fight. We have the tools to win. And one of the things that we've been doing, quite frankly, knowing that he was coming, is to put in place an infrastructure so that his HBCU students in particular, initially when the FAFSA challenge would come up, and then all students can go online and sign up to the social media wealth building so that we don't have to continue to be overly reliant on government. I want every tax dollar we're entitled to, so don't get me wrong. I want our fair share and then somebody else if they'll give it to us, but so that we have options. These students can earn up to $300,000 on average. And that was in the test of the concept over 17 years, simply by going on and doing what students do. Click on and stay on social media. And so we're trying to create options while we're going after every dollar that we have. And we're not winning much. The courts are obviously stacked, and they're going to be stacked even heavier in a minute. But we're going to keep challenging them. The other thing is this: Trump and his shadow folks understand money. So HBCUs, mission-based institutions, 3% of American colleges and universities, they're graduating 42% of Blacks with advanced degrees in STEM. And his three immediate shadow co-presidents have as their top agenda item things having to do with STEM, with technology. And being one in the world seems to be more important to this president than being just and fair and equitable and comporting with any laws, regulations, policies, executive orders. And so they should understand that they can't get the America that they want without HBCUs. And let me tell you what happened. I don't know if it was by design or just sloppiness, because the whole thing is really sloppy. When in the executive order, the OMB decided which programs were going to be cut, they specifically mentioned Hispanic serving institutions and tribal colleges and universities, did not mention HBCUs. And I called OMB and I called people at the Department of Education. Their position now is that was not a mistake. But the question is why? Tribal colleges are non-racial too. So if you're going to exclude all of the non-racials, why were tribal colleges included? But it's a big mess, but I live to fight for justice. I've been doing it since I was 14. That's all I know. I get excited in the morning and doing that. And it's unfortunate that the clock has been turned so far back. The voting rights have been trammeled. Employment rights have been trammeled. Health rights, on and on. And justice, you let thugs and murderers out of jail and prison in mass. But we're up to the task, and we're not going to allow it to sit. And if there's any judge before whom we can get, there's no question, but the actions, these actions are in flagrant violation of the Constitution. And I think you can get a small number, but a number of Republicans to go along, because they value the appropriations responsibilities, and that's what they can take home to their constituents.
Going to be prepared for the craziness that is going to ensue. Leslie Baskerville, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
I thank you so much for allowing me to be here, and look forward to working with you and the colleagues there as we do push back. Have a glorious day.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Go to my panel here. Mondale, I want to start with you. I mean, listen, folk better be prepared. And bottom line is, it's a lot of people who are sleepwalking. And what pisses me off is I'm tired of hearing these people go, oh, my God, I can't believe this. And I'm like, dumbasses, we told you. They told you. It's in Project 2025. Trump lied by saying, I don't know anything about this here. I don't even want to know about it. I didn't even read it. They were lying the entire time. But I don't understand why people don't realize that they are going to go after anything and everything that says black or race or whatever.
Yeah, listen, let's be clear. We watched this president tell us through his whole life, not just when he was running as a political candidate, his entire life he's been anti-black. So anybody believing that him running for office the last time that he could run from office and getting elected, that he was not going to be even more anti-black, even more empowered by whiteness when white people put him in that place, I think they're being fanciful at best. And I can think of some more colorful words that better describe them. This whole HBCU thing's really got me really stressed out, mainly because I think people forget that, like your past commentator was just talking about, that's a lot of people attending HBCUs. Nearly 25% of the people that go to HBCU are non-black students. And hell, you got 8 schools where over half of them, HBCUs, where over half of the student population are not something other than black. Hell, you even got 2 in West Virginia where the population are either 90 or 80% white. West Virginia State and Bluefield State. So this is the unseriousness at which we are writing policies, so much so that we are willing to throw poor white people out with black people just to make sure that we make sure black people understand their position in life. And anybody, any black Republican, any black person that voted for Trump, any black person that has something negative to say about what Kamala was offering, they're not really serious about what it takes to be standing up for black people. And I mean that because we've watched every day, 9 days straight, where something was written, and even if it didn't say black people, it was anti-black. The 14th Amendment, the erasing all the gains from the 1965 Civil Rights Act, and we can go on and on. The ensuring police officers that are going to get unqualified immunity, which means they can do whatever they want to in our communities, kill black men at rates that they want to without being checked.
Right.
I promise you, if so much wasn't going on, I bet you Chauvin would be free if it was a federal charge.
Well,
people are sitting here pretending that we are not under attack and that they didn't know it.
Right.
It's going to be this serious.
So
these people are not serious about our folk and their folk too.
So here's the thing, Joy, that we have to understand again. If you are an institution, if you are a group, I don't care what it is, if you have any federal funds, if you have a business that receives federal funds, you had better be on guard, because these people, they want to go after everything, and they want to absolutely cripple Black America.
Correct. And let's be clear, it's not just Black America. I know that's our focus here, but it is women. It is Native Americans.
No. Here's the deal. No. When we say women, it's white women. Let's be real clear.
Roland, what I'm telling you is I'm on a board of an organization that just had their efforts that were aimed at sexual harassment in the workplace, that was brought back.
No, I understand.
What
I'm saying is when you say black, sisters are under that. So I want to specifically challenge white women because they act like they're not a part of this. But go ahead.
Correct. White women do act like they're not a part of it, but they're fools for it. They are coming for everything that does not benefit white, heterosexual,
men,
cisgendered men. That is what Judeo-Christian at that. That is their focus. So even if you think that that you're going to be protected, you are not going to be protected. You are not going to be protected. And they are testing out with DEI. And by the way, in the federal government, those offices are not just diversity, equity, and inclusion. If you are a person with a disability, those are also accessibility offices. This is really important. They are testing out to see what they can do.
Yeah.
And when it happens and no one pushes back, or not enough people push back, then they go farther. That's what happened this week. They started with DEI. And then later in the week, they cut all the funding.
Yeah, I'll tell you this here, Erica, and this is the thing that I think, again, folk need to understand. The people who are going to push back, and this is where, when you talk about fighting it in the courts, it's going to be the Democratic attorneys generals and the governors. They're going to have to lead the legal charge. Frankly, the folks in D.C., I don't know what the hell they're doing. They are $5 late and 5 days short. I mean, I've never seen folk react so damn slow to what's going on. But again, when New York Attorney General Tish James announced the first one to launch a lawsuit over the freezing of the funds, and then other Democratic attorney generals jumped in, guess what? Not a single Republican attorney general said a word, even though those broke-ass red states get the most money from the federal government. So that is what you're going to see. You're going to have a legal onslaught led by Democratic governors and attorneys generals.
Absolutely. Executive leadership is definitely pertinent at this time. And speaking of AG Letitia James, shout out to her. She was one of the first ones to retweet over to talk about, listen, we coming for you. You will see us in court. That is the type of leadership that we always need. And you're talking about the number one and the number two group, which is Black men and Black women. We are the ones that really fought for democracy, that are continuing to fight, particularly in these times. But let's be very clear about what we're seeing We're seeing, again, what we've been talking about on this show for the past 7 years, but we're also seeing the policies. We're also seeing the mating call that was released back in February of 2017 by Stephen Bannon across the water from us here in Maryland, where at the CPAC convention, where he said at that time that their goal was to deconstruct the administrative state, and they are here in 2025 to do that. You have a Stephen Miller, who is an all-out Nazi, a nationalist, who is the deputy chief policy head in the White House. And so anywhere that he is able to see any remnants, anything that has Black in it, he's going after it. So I think that for those that were in the space of not believing what has been talked about, what was actually written, what was actually made watered down into 30, 90-second snippets where people could actually get the information of what was going to happen if he was able to, meaning the son of a Klansman was able to get back behind that desk at 1600 Black Lives Matter Plaza, which we know that address will change very quickly. But this is what he would do. And so now it is incumbent upon people to make sure that not only are they calling their senators and lighting people up here in D.C., but to also be in support of those Democratic AGs and governors that are being about the business of taking this illegal regime to task.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. And right now we're accepting investors in our $17 million round to revolutionize the future of social media. Today, for just $399, you can own 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. While the big platforms have grown too massive and disconnected from their users, Fanbase is building a platform where creators and users truly come first. We've already raised $4.8 million from everyday investors who believe in this vision, and now you can join them. This is your chance to invest in a social media tech company with over 1 million users that is disrupting media by allowing anyone to reach all of their following and monetize their content from day one. The market is changing, big platforms are failing to serve their users, and Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now. Invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the future of social media.